and keeps you satiated, or keeps you full, okay? When you're trying to lose weight, having a high protein goal, especially like a high protein, lots of veggies, and then a lower fat goal, that's how you stay lean. So you get lean like that, and then you stay lean like that. I had a conversation with Tony Jo earlier, but she's somebody who doesn't necessarily need to lose weight for this challenge. And there are a lot of you guys who you already met your goal, and you don't necessarily need to lose this big number on the scale. But eating anti-inflammatory and getting back on it, that's your way of seeing, you know, if I cut out refined sugar, or if I cut out dairy, or if I cut out alcohol, like how will I feel, okay? And those 2 weeks, for you guys to get points for the challenge and for you guys to like do the challenge right, those first 2 weeks is literally just sticking to this list and then logging, okay? If you follow this list and you log your food, I don't really care if you meet your calorie and protein goal. For the first 2 weeks is your practice to get back in the habit of logging and then to try this meal plan, okay? You're gonna have a box on your calendar, we talked about at your meeting, that's gonna say follow anti-inflammatory. That starts on Monday. If you follow the meal plan that day, you're gonna check that off, okay, and log your food. If you don't follow that meal plan, that's fine. Or you go off of it, that's fine. Don't check the box off, but still log everything, okay? After those 2 weeks, then I need to see your calories yellow on the app and your protein yellow on the app. Does everybody know what that means? No. Okay, so when I say yellow on the app, you guys have a calorie goal. So that's your calorie goal, meaning you need to either meet that goal and try not to go over it, right? Or stay kind of under it to give you a buffer. You need to meet that calorie goal, but you also need to meet your protein goal. If you meet your protein goal and you stay within your calorie goal, whatever else is left in your calories, you can eat carbs and fats, right? Now, when you're on the app, you guys turning yellow, your bar's turning yellow, that means you're within the range of where I want you to be. It doesn't mean you're exact, but you're close. So I can change that variance depending on the client. So everybody for the challenge is set to 20%, which means you can be, like let's say your goal is 2,000 calories, okay? You can be over your goal by 20% and it will stay yellow, okay? You can be under your goal by 20% and it will stay yellow. So if you eat 2,400 calories, you have between 2,000 and 2,400 before you're over, okay? And then you also have, you know, between 2,000 and 1,600 to be under, right? That's what that variance is. Now, when you get really consistent, we want to tighten the variance to like 10%. And that means now you're 10% closer to the goal. More consistency over time means more weight loss. If you hang out in that over your calorie goal, but within the yellow range too much, you could potentially pull yourself out of your deficit and maintain. So if you feel like your weight's kind of staying the same, you're not really seeing any results, it could be because the days that you log are good, but then the days that you don't log, you might think are okay, because you're like making the same choices or whatever, but you didn't log it, so there's no way to know. And if your weight didn't move, that tells you what you need to know. Whether you meant to do it or not, you pulled yourself at least into maintenance, right? So the goal is to try to find a way that you can stay consistent in that deficit all week, okay? So for the first, that's what that yellow means. So when you guys are logging, you're gonna see blue. That means, oh, I got more food to eat, right? As soon as you see yellow, you're like, okay, I'm within range. Look at it, make sure you got everything you're supposed to have in there, make sure your protein is also yellow, and then ask yourself if you're still hungry. If you're still hungry, then go for more food that's on that list, okay? And especially if you have the room. If you are fine where you're at and you're not like way too far under, you're yellow, or you're not way too far over, you can stay right there, okay? Now, the thing about macros that people hate is how tedious it is, right? Logging and trying to fit everything. That's why you guys hear us say all the time to do it ahead of time, okay? Then you're not constantly worrying all day about how you're gonna meet the goal. AJ and I found the best way to do that is to work backwards. So you have your calorie goal. You know that you have 1,500 calories, for example, okay? Your 1,500 calorie goal, you have that, and then you have, let's say, 100 grams of protein. Everything else, you have to fit your carbs and your fats inside of that, right? The best way to do that, we think, is to have protein every time you eat. That helps you hit your protein goal. And then whatever you want to have with that, you kind of decide. Now for the anti-inflammatory, I'm going to tell you, hey, try to have fat in morning and night, try to have carbs in the middle, like we kind of have been practicing, just to help you get, because fats are a little bit more anti-inflammatory than carbs. We're gonna clean that up, and then you can decide, okay, like I feel like I do need more carbs, I'm kind of dragging in my workouts, then that's when like you can decide, okay, I missed having a carb for my breakfast, I'm gonna switch back after the 2 weeks, okay? Does everybody have a meal plan? Okay, that first page, so what are macros? So I just touched on that. So when we talk about macros, we're talking about proteins, carbs, fats, okay? Most of you guys only have a calorie and a protein goal. That's because you don't really need to track your carbs and your fats until you get consistent with your calories and your protein. As long as your carbs and fats stay within that range of your calorie goal and you hit your protein, you're eating enough, you're fine. The protein goal is something that, like, once you get used to hitting it, that can stay the same, and then the rest of your calories can go up, like, as you meet your goal, okay? We try to keep protein the same, and then the carbs and the fats are, like, what we manipulate. When you guys are looking at macros, protein is 4 calories per gram. So if your goal is 100 grams of protein a day, and you times that by 4, right? 100 times 4, that's 400 calories out of your 1,500 calories that need to come from protein, okay? That means 1,100 calories, you can do whatever you want, right? Within reason. And that's one way to do macros. One way is people are like, oh, if it fits in my macros, it works. That's kind of how I do it, right? I don't, like, if I want to, right, shake your head. If I want to have something, I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to work backwards, okay? If I want to have ice cream, if I want to have pizza or whatever, I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to work backwards. Right? And that's how I make sure that I have what I want and I don't feel bad about it, okay? So your proteins are gonna come from your meat, your fish, your dairy, eggs, your supplements, and then plant proteins, right? We are gonna pull back on the dairy a little bit, but I'm gonna talk about how that's something that you can kind of determine on your own, okay? So protein, we know that's important, we know we need that to build muscle, we know we need that for organ function, for energy, and for satiation. When your protein's high, you can get away with having a lower carb, okay? Carbs. So carbs we know have 4 calories per gram too. So protein and carbs are both worth the same when it comes to calories, but they do different things, right? So when you have carbs, when I say carbs, I'm talking about sugar, I'm talking about starches, and I'm talking about fiber. Fiber is like your veggies, your plant stuff, right? Your starches are like your potatoes, stuff like that. And then your sugars are going to come from like your fruit, and then like the added sugar that you're getting in, right? Or rice, stuff like that. There's different types of carbs, and they say that you're supposed to eat different types of carbs at different times. One of the things that we're going to touch on today is fiber. Basically, that just means I want you guys to get better at eating fruit and vegetables. This meal plan is also going to force you to do a little bit more fiber because the carb list is very limited and takes away a lot of the simple sugar. So you're more limited to just sticking to the rice or sticking to the fruit as your simple sugar, and then everything else is more higher fiber, okay? Fats are 9 calories per gram. So this is why if you do have a fat goal, your fat goal is like 30 grams or 40 grams or 50 grams. It's way lower than your protein goal and your calorie goal because it's worth twice as many calories per gram, okay? It adds up faster. So the things that we think are healthy that we're snacking on, like almonds, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, no, I'm so healthy, I eat almonds. How many almonds? Do we even know? We don't know. Because this thing says 28 almonds, right? 28 nuts is 170 calories, it's 16 grams of fat. So it's like almost half of your fat goal for a lot of you guys. It doesn't really make sense to snack on stuff like this when you can snack on things that will give you more volume or you can eat more of for less calories. For example, like popcorn, okay? If you really need fat, but you don't need this much fat, and you want to be able to eat a lot of it, then I would say, and you have the carbs to give or the calories to give, I would say going for popcorn and then putting like a tablespoon of butter on it, or like a Smart spray butter or something. You're gonna get way more out of that, like being full, and you're gonna be excited that you're eating popcorn if you like popcorn, and it's way more fun than eating these, right? I would like cry while I eat these. I don't ever eat these. I've probably had this for like 2 years. So like, I just don't snack on nuts, y'all. Like there's easy things, like things that you can, like to make your life easier and to just kind of live and not have to constantly worry about it. One of the things I do is I don't eat avocados really, like hardly ever. And I don't really ever eat nuts. And that saved me from going over my fat, right? I don't really eat peanut butter. I kind of forgot it existed, right? So those are little like switches that you can make in your head where you're like, oh, I can live without that. Try to live without it, and then next thing you know, like you're not going over your protein goal or your fat goal on a regular basis, okay? Okay, so with that, I'm kind of keeping an eye on your fat already with how I have your goal, and then the way the meal plan is set up, the proteins you're choosing from are lean proteins, so you really shouldn't have any trouble with fat. With the anti-inflammatory, you're doing fat a couple more times than normal, but that's just because fat's better for anti-inflammatory, okay? The last macro that people forget about or want to pretend like doesn't exist is alcohol, okay? Alcohol is 7 calories per gram. So it's has more calories per gram than carbs and protein, but it has less than fat. The other thing about alcohol is the only macro that yields absolutely 0 health benefits, okay? In fact, it's negative health benefits, okay? So in an ideal world for the anti-inflammatory, you would not have alcohol. And that's 1, to see how it feels for the 2 weeks. 2, to prove to yourself that you can live without it. Because over the holidays, you guys probably just got back into the habit of it. It's a social thing, right? So it's just getting back into the habit of, that's just not something we do on a regular basis. It's not conducive with your goals. When you take in alcohol, it takes your body prioritizes that. So if you're in a deficit and you're burning fat and you've got, you're eating protein all the time, you're in this really like high calorie burning state, hitting your steps, and then you drink, your body's like, well, forget all that. I'm gonna focus on getting rid of this alcohol first. And now all the calorie burning situation goes to this and focuses on that instead of burning fat, right? Or just burning calories. And that's a lot of times how you guys spin your wheel. Not just the calorie thing, but it's a major inflammatory, right? For your whole body, for your blood, and for your gut. So trying to cut it out for the 2 weeks, seeing how you feel, and then ideally continue for the 4 weeks. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing after the challenge, but see how it goes. It's only gonna help, okay? Does anybody have questions about macros? Okay. So you guys all have a calorie and a protein goal on your app. For the first 2 weeks when you guys are following this plan, I'm not worried about you hitting the numbers or being yellow. I just want you to follow this because because it's so clean, you might have to eat a lot more volume of food to hit the goal, right? So if you're somebody that already kind of has a hard time eating, this is going to be one of those things where you might not hit your calorie goal the first couple weeks, but you're going to have to figure out between week 2 and week 3, what else can you bring in to make sure you hit that calorie goal? We're not really doing like, for example, we're not really doing like crackers or pretzels for the challenge, or for the first couple of weeks. But if you're really low on carbs and fats and you're getting all your protein in, you're hitting your fiber, and you have like 300 calories left, having something like that you would actually be willing to eat, So if you're somebody that constantly goes over their calories or has trouble staying within them, seeing how easy, or not easy, but how easy it is to stay within your calorie goal when you eat like this, and then being like, okay, well, I really don't like chicken breast, like, yeah, I did it for 6 weeks, whatever, but I want to go back to having chicken thighs. Just make that swap, but you're going to have to move some stuff around, right? So this is meant to, like, best case scenario, when I eat like this, I feel like this, the scale drops like this, and then how am I going to maintain this for the next 4 weeks, realistically, okay? On this nutrition recommendations, if you guys remember from the very first meal plan you got, whether it was a red carpet challenge or it was a 6-week challenge when you first joined, you have the same color coding. So the protein's blue, fats are pink, carbs are yellow, and then veggies are green. I want you with this protein list. In an ideal world, this whole page, in an ideal world, you would not eat anything that's not on this page, okay, for 2 weeks. Now, yeah, obviously it's very limited, and that's because we're trying to get you to realize how much you can eat when you eat this clean, but also that, like, this is real food. That's how much processed, and, like, that's how much processed food is. When you look at this and you're like, okay, there's really not that much food in it, this is pretty much all the whole food that there really is, right? So the first list, I'm looking for wild-caught fish. I say wild-caught because farm fish is supposed to be a known inflammatory. If you can't find wild-caught fish, it's not a huge deal. But going for like a whitefish or a salmon is going to be best. Whitefish is nice because you can eat a lot of it because it's low fat, right? So I could eat a lot of shrimp or like a lot of mahi. I could eat more of that than I could eat salmon, okay? Because salmon has more fat. Salmon's not bad. Salmon's a great thing to have for this plan because we're letting it have a little bit more fat, but it is higher fat. So if you're gonna go to have dinner and you only have X amount of calories, X amount of protein left, you have the choice to hit your protein. You can do a salmon or you can do like a shrimp or a whitefish. this salmon, if you plug it in, you might see like, oh, that takes me in the red for my fat. If you plug this in, this takes me right to my protein and stays within my fat. So just being okay with like kind of doing those checks too, like scanning the barcode or reading the label when you're at the store, comparing the salmon to the tuna, to like actually trying to pay attention to what you're doing, right? That's what all of this is, just awareness. Your lean chicken breasts are tender, so we're trying to stay with the white meat chicken over like dark meat and over like chicken thighs. Just again, same with the salmon, it's just chicken thighs, dark meat has more fat with it. It's not bad, but it just adds up faster, okay? 93% or leaner ground turkey or ground beef or ground chicken. It's sometimes hard to find 93.7 beef, so if you can find like 90.10, that 90, that's how lean it is, right? And the 10 or that smaller number is the percentage of fat. When you go to restaurants, a lot of times the meat that they're using for their hamburgers and stuff is like 80-20 or 70-30, okay? So that's when you're at home, you can control that and you can pull back on the calories and pull back on the fat by choosing a leaner piece of meat, okay? Eggs, so pasture-raised eggs are known to be better and less inflammatory than just regular eggs, but again, you know, whatever eggs you have access to, and then egg whites. So obviously the 1 to 2 eggs and 3 to 4 tablespoons of egg whites, that number could change for people. I don't want you guys to get married to the portions that are on here. These are just like recommendations. So if you need a couple more servings of egg whites to get you to your protein goal, or another egg or so, like, you know, add to that. For your fish, for your chicken, for all of those meats, I recommend for you guys to do 4.5 ounces or more. I think everybody can do, if you stick to 4.5 ounces for your 3 meals, and then you get your snacks in, that's gonna get you to where you need to be. Most of you guys are anywhere from like 6 to 9 ounces for your protein portions. That's a really easy place to start if you're not hitting your protein, to just add 1 or 2 ounces to each meal. Does that make sense? Okay, and then plant-based. When you add plant-based proteins, obviously you're adding in a little bit of carbs, you're adding in a little bit of fat, so just being more, paying a little bit more attention to when you're adding, like when you're doing the beans and stuff, to the calories, okay? When you guys, how does everybody feel about a food scale, using a food scale? Good? Yeah? For the food scale, when you're weighing your proteins, best practice is to weigh it raw, okay? If you're someone who's weighing it cooked, that's fine. If that's working for you, I would just keep doing it. It's about consistency, so you don't want to weigh one thing raw, one thing cooked. But when you weigh raw, that's more accurate than weighing it cooked, because one, the raw weight matches the nutrition facts on the label, right? That's for the raw weight a lot of times. If you buy raw chicken or raw, like the weight when you scan it, pulls up like 4 ounces or something, that's the raw weight. So if you cook it, you're gonna lose a little bit of stuff in it. So if you go to give yourself 4 ounces after it's cooked, you're actually gonna end up giving yourself more than the 4 ounces, right? Because 4 ounces uncooked, you throw it in, it loses water, does its thing, and then you weigh it again. If you weighed it evenly, it would come out probably 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce lighter. But if you weigh it after, you know, you're gonna get 1 ounce or 1.5 ounces over. It's protein, so it's not that big of a deal. It's lean protein, so it's really not that big of a deal. But that's why you'll hear people say, like, you need to weigh raw versus cooked. I literally would say, just pick one and stay consistent, okay? Same with like your rice and your pasta. I would pick raw, or I would pick dry, wet or dry, like whichever one you feel like is easier for you to keep up with.
I have a question about that. So I can weigh everything else raw, like chicken, but how do you use your ground turkey and stuff? Since it has to be cooked and like a bunch, you can separate it.
Personally, I would put it all together. So if you buy, like, I'll buy 2.5 pounds of like ground turkey or ground chicken, and I'll cook it all, and then you would weigh it afterwards,
Okay.
right? And then you would divide it evenly by 8 or however many, and that's kind of how you're gonna know, like, okay, this was 4 ounces, and now it's this, right? The other way to do it is to cook it all, and then just weigh it after, and then split it evenly, and that is what it is. So, because you know that was 2.5 ounces, or 2.5 pounds when you started, right? So now you're getting the same proportion of the finished product. Does that make sense? That's the most accurate way to do it. If you're browning your meat and weighing it after, again, just keep doing that. It's more about like if you're throwing in sauces and stuff, like, because if you think about it, you add taco seasoning, right, after it's brown, you add like 2 or 3 cups of water to that. Now it weighs different, okay? But those are little things, right? If you're like not even logging consistently, I wouldn't stress about that. I really would. Don't let those little things, that's the other thing about tracking. Little things like, I don't know how to track this when I go out, or I don't know how to track this. It's an accountability thing, so just take a picture of it and then send me a message or leave a note like, I tried to log this, or just try to log it the best that you can. But use that as a motivator too, to like not really go out to eat during this, right? Because it is hard to log when you go out to eat. It's almost impossible to log it accurately, right? But it's one of those things where like, hey, I tried to follow the plan, I went out to dinner, I know at dinner I'm supposed to have a protein, a fat, and a veggie, so you pick a protein off of the list. Maybe you don't really go for the fat because they put plenty of fat in that stuff anyway, and then your veggie. And then you're like, I followed the plan, right? Does that make sense? So carbs, this is a small list, and that's because I pulled out all the refined sugar, I pulled out all the simple sugars and stuff like that. We're trying to focus on whole food, and we're trying to focus on getting the fiber in. So your quinoa, you guys will, quinoa, jasmine rice, basmati rice, or brown rice. All 4 of those are parboiled. Okay, have you guys ever heard of parboiled rice? So have you guys heard of how when you cook rice, you leave it overnight, and the next day it supposedly it hits your insulin less, so you get less of a sugar hit, right? Parboiled rice has already been taken care of. So if you compare regular white rice to like a parboiled jasmine rice or something, the parboiled jasmine rice, you're going to have less of a reaction to that, to the sugar, than you would to like a regular white rice. That's why people say like brown rice is better than white rice or whatever. You take that hit, you take less of a hit. I don't have white rice on here either because I want you guys to explore like jasmine, basmati are basically, they're literally white rice. I didn't really know there was a difference until I learned that. But they're parboiled, so they're gonna hit your, you're gonna get less of a blood sugar reaction. So I would try to stick to those or the quinoa. For me personally, we buy, where's it at? This microwave quinoa brown rice, right? 90 seconds. It's kind of expensive. It's like $2.98 for this, I think, for one. But you can get a pack of 5 or 6 at Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's or whatever, right? This is it says per cup or per pouch. I wouldn't just go by that. I would actually like pour it out on your scale and make sure you have the right amount, because we and AJ try to split these all the time and it's not even 2. It's not even, right? And that's the bad thing about packages. They're allowed to kind of go up or down. And that's why tracking is important too, because everything is already rounded, right? Labels are allowed to round up to 10% on their labels, right? I don't know how that's legal, but it's in here. So, microwave rice, the little individual minute rices are really good because that's 1 cup. So like you know exactly what that is. So make it easier on yourself. There's so many, I was talking to Sheena today, she's telling me all the like fast things that they have at Costco now. You guys can go for those things like this, but it needs to be whole food still. Right? The things that I want you to look out for are like this kind of stuff. Like, oh, I am high protein, 5 grams. That's not high protein, okay? It just has protein in here somewhere from the seeds that they put in here. This kind of stuff is where the calories are going to sneak up, because not only, do you want more than 4 squares, right? But it also has like the refined sugar and stuff in it still. Yes, it's cane sugar, right? That's healthy, that's great, that's better than refined sugar, but it's still sugar, it's still carbs. You're still going to want more of this stuff later. So I would opt for more of a whole food snack, or make your own version of this, right? Or go for like a whole food that is going to be more satiating, rice cakes or something like that you can keep going back for, okay? Your oats, I'm okay with oats. I'm okay with like cream of rice, cream of wheat, anything like that, okay? And then blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. So blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, berries in general have a lot of antioxidants that other fruits don't have. So bringing those in is really good, but you can also have a lot of them, right? So you can have a whole bowl, 1, 1.5, 2 cups of berries, very low calorie. Other fruit will add up a little bit more, but I'm really okay with any fruit. Because the fruit, especially fruit with skin, that's going to help you hit your fiber goal, okay? So if you don't like those berries, just pick a different fruit. That's not going to make or break you, okay? Your fat, so the pink limited list, not much different than the list that you guys are used to, just because like we're really just trying to watch. You're gonna get fat from your protein, right? And then any other additional fat, we're really just trying to stick to the healthy monounsaturated fat. So there's saturated fat and there's monounsaturated fat. You can have some saturated fat, that's what you're getting from your animal products. But we want most of our fat to come from, you know, the healthy monounsaturated fats like extra virgin olive oil, the coconut oil, nuts, and almond or cashew butter. Peanut butter is supposed to be and is a known inflammatory. It's also something a lot of people are allergic to nowadays. So veering towards a cashew butter or something like that is known to be a little bit less inflammatory. If you handle peanut butter fine, then keep going if that's what you want to do. But make sure it's an unsweetened or all natural or no added sugar or something like that. Okay? So like this Jif, where's that? This Jif creamy peanut butter. This is my favorite. It has 8 carbs, 2 grams of fiber, 3 grams of sugar, and then 2 grams of added sugar. When you guys opt for the other peanut butter, it is gonna separate, which is so annoying. But it won't have any of the sugar, so you're gonna get all fiber and then that healthy fat. Okay? Peanut butter is not a protein. Just forget that. Anybody ever said that? Okay?
Coach Carm, quick question. We do PB Fit, right?
Yeah, that's a great substitution. So PB Fit's like a dried peanut butter that has more protein than fat. They basically took all the fat out of it. You can mix that into stuff to give you peanut butter flavor. You find it in the supplement aisle. Or what I do is I mix a little bit. I'll take like 2 tablespoons. I'll mix a tiny bit of water with it at a time slowly and make my own peanut butter. And you can spread that out. Okay?
They also make a ready-to-go creamy PB Fit
Oh, I didn't know that.
from Amazon.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
What did you say?
They make a already made PB Fit spread.
So it's just like Jif, you know, just scoop it out with
But
a
it's
knife,
PB Fit.
but it's the PB Fit brand, so it has extra protein.
On Amazon?
I think it's Amazon,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
My daily guilty
Yeah, right?
fat
What
choice.
about avocado?
Avocado oil is great. So when you are, I use my air fryer a lot for stuff, and the only thing I like olive oil better, like for health wise, but it doesn't handle high heat well. So I would do avocado oil or coconut oil for the air fryer, and then I would do avocado or extra virgin olive oil for your cooking oil. Yeah, for sauteing stuff. Okay, we're trying to avoid trans fats. So trans fats you want to just completely forget about. Those are what are found in those ultra processed foods. Okay, so like Cheetos and things like that. We love them, but part of the reason why we love them is because of the trans fats. So we don't feel good after them. I'm a huge candy person. As soon as I eat candy, I know there's red 40 in there. My stomach knows there's red 40 in there. We're not okay, but I do it anyway. So for the 2 weeks, you're trying not to do that, and make sure you feel good. And then after, if you're like, oh my God, I'm dying, and then you need to have that fixed, but then you're back on it for the 4 weeks. Okay, this is real. We're trying to be realistic here. Okay, I don't want you guys to do this, and then all of a sudden nobody's on the app anymore. Okay, your veggies. This is just literally a list of my recommendations. I don't want you to feel like you don't see a veggie on there that you like, so you're not eating veggies. Eat whatever veggies you're willing to eat, okay? But those are, I split them up, so leafy greens, those are gonna help you with fiber. Your cruciferous veggies are gonna help you with fiber and protein, and then your non-starchy veggies, those are ones that you can just load your stuff up with. That are, like, I want you guys to think about veggies as virtually 0 calories. You can have as many veggies as you want. And tracking them, some of you guys will ask me, well, I don't want to like log this recipe because it's got all these different veggies in it. From a calorie and logging perspective, in general, you don't really need to log your veggies. I don't really log my veggies, but we are trying to pay attention to your fiber. So if your fiber is looking at 9 or 10 grams, and it's supposed to be 20, but you're not logging your veggies, you know, then I'm not seeing that. So for the challenge, I think it would be good to like log your veggies so you could see how much you need to eat volume-wise to get you there. But from a consistency standpoint, I'm not as worried about the veggies, okay? Condiments, that's just a reminder, you don't need to track your condiments, as in you don't need to track dry rubs, dry herbs, dry seasonings. If you use any sauces, you need to track your sauces, you need to weigh your sauces, okay? All these sauces that have come out that are low carb and like high protein or whatever, I have a list of approved sauces on school that you guys can look at, but for the 2 weeks, I would refrain from the artificial sugar and stuff too. Like I would, like, if you normally do like a Splenda or something, I would cut that out and just see how you do without the artificial sugar and without the preservatives, okay? Hot sauce, salsa, pico, lemon juice, lime juice, sauerkraut, kimchi, vinegar, stuff like that, using that stuff as your salad dressings. Have a list of approved salad dressings, but again, you're gonna, introduce sucralose and stuff like that. If you're already gonna do that anyway, like let's say, for example, your protein shake has sucralose in it as the sweetener, or it has another like low calorie sweetener in it, then you're already gonna have that. So continuing to have the other one isn't gonna ruin you, but if you're like, I'm not doing artificial sweetener at all, I'm not having protein shakes, I'm not having processed food, then I would cut that out too, okay? Your water, spring water or alkaline water is supposed to be the least inflammatory and what your body likes the most, but I really just want you to drink water, okay? It doesn't really matter where it's coming from. The goal is half your body weight in ounces. With you guys bumping your fiber up and getting back into eating your protein, if you haven't been lately, you want to make sure your water matches that so that you don't get constipated, okay? All right, next page. So you guys are using that page to choose your food, and you're logging what you're choosing from this page, okay? If you need to unstaple this, if yours is stapled, we changed our minds about stapling it like halfway through, so. So I want you to look at your nutrition recommendations page while you look at the plate building page.
Coach Carm, can I ask a quick question on the protein as well?
Yes, ma'am.
You said you cry when you eat the almonds. I cry when I have to mix my protein powder with water. Can I use almond milk? Can I use cashew milk? Because I don't want to be, miserable with it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened cashew milk, yeah, it should be fine. I like cashew milk better than the other plant milks just because it's so low calorie, and it has a really good texture. I feel like almond milk's really watery, but cashew milk is creamy like oat milk. Oat milk has too many calories. You want to try to either cut way back on the amount of oat milk you're doing, or don't use it at all, okay? All right, so same thing goes here. So protein's blue, fat's pink, carbs are yellow, veggies are green. The strategy, so if you look halfway down the page, your goal for the first 2 weeks is to have 3 or 4 whole food meals and then 1 or 2 shakes or snacks, okay? So whole food meal number 1, that's your breakfast. You guys are welcome to switch whole food 1 and protein shake 1 or snack 1 if you want to, but well, don't do snack 1. You can switch whole food meal 1 and protein shake together, or mix them if you're not a breakfast person, but it would be cool for you guys to try to eat breakfast. I have a couple people that I met with recently that started a few weeks ago that haven't been eating breakfast, started eating breakfast, and now, they're revving up, they're waking up hungry. That's a good sign. That means your metabolism is working and is regulating. You shouldn't not be hungry until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not normal, okay?
I just had a question. What if you don't like to drink protein shakes at all?
So that's why I'm giving you the option to do snacks. So your first meal and your last meal are gonna have a protein because it's blue, a fat because it's pink, and then a veggie, okay? Your breakfast and your dinner. Your lunch is gonna have a carb. So protein, carb, and a veggie. We're having your carb in the middle of the day when you're doing stuff, right? When you're getting your steps in. You've either already worked out or you're working out later. We're going to use that, right? We need them. Your shakes, you can have a shake as a snack like in the morning and in the afternoon. If you want to keep your calories low, you're feeling good, and you're hitting your fiber and your protein with the 3 meals and the 2 snacks, stay there, okay? If you are going up to 5 workouts a week, right, then you need to add some kind of carb to that shake on your workout days. Okay, going from 3 days to 5 days is a lot. So I would recommend starting light and doing like a side of berries or something like that, okay? So that's when you're gonna have a shake. If you're working out and you're gonna have a shake, you wanna have some kind of fruit or carb with it, okay? If you're not working out that day, then you can just get away with having the shakes by themselves, okay? If you're adding some kind of milk or something to it, if it's not unsweetened, that milk is gonna count as a carb. So if you wanted to do, if you're not cutting out milk and you wanna do like a 2%, that counts as a carb. If you wanna do regular oat milk, that counts as your carb. Does that make sense? Okay, you have the option though, like Raquel, she doesn't like shakes, or she's cutting shakes out, okay? Then you can have a snack instead. I recommend that you have a smaller portion of protein with that snack. You only need 10 or 15 grams of protein, so like half of what you normally would do for a protein snack. And then I would stick some kind of carb or veggie with it, if not both. If you're really hungry, then make yourself a whole little meal with one of the carbs on your list and then one of the veggies. If you're not that hungry, then just do the protein and then one or the other, okay?
What about yogurt?
So, yogurt's one of those things where if you know that if you're keeping the protein shakes around, then it's fine to have the yogurt because you're already keeping the dairy in, okay? Does that make sense? Your protein shakes have whey, which is dairy. So if you know you tolerate that well and you're gonna keep doing that, then like a non-fat yogurt is fine. I would recommend for the 2 weeks to not do the triple oikos ones, to do plain because of added sugar. But again, if you're having the shakes that already has added sugar in it, you'll probably be fine if you have the yogurt, especially if that's like your go-to breakfast thing, yeah. If I did that, I would do, your yogurt would be your protein, and then you could throw some fruit on there if you wanted to, but I would still make sure you have a veggie, and then you could sprinkle some chopped nuts or something on that, or like add the beef fit or whatever for your fat. Yogurt is also, like you said, a really good snack. So having like one of those like triple oikos or a smaller portion of yogurt, throwing some fruit on there for your carb, and then having like cucumbers or something like not in your face veggie with it, right? And then you also can do one or the other. So if you work out in the morning, maybe you want to eat before and then have a shake after, and then you want to have an afternoon snack, right? Does this make sense? You're going to use the first page as your choices, and then you're going to try to make your plates look like this. Yeah? For you guys to get points for the challenge, you have to log your version of this, and then if you followed the plan, if you stuck to this, check that box off. Okay? What's up?
I was wondering, if you're doing a 212 meal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how to simplify it.
Yeah. Good question. So,
What, would that be just one meal?
yeah, well, it depends. So the 212 meals, they will fit in the plan. What I'm recommending is that you don't go for the ones that have bread. So avoiding the ones that have pasta or bread. So like the ones that have a bun, a lot of times, most of the time they have a low carb option. So trying to, all together, if you were gonna look at the 212 like list of foods, avoid bread or a bun or something like that. All the other ones, they have like they have a protein, you have like a rice or something with it, or a potato, and then you have a veggie. So I think the 212 meals are good because it's gonna, a lot of times that's the only veggie people are getting in. So I would say do the low carb meals for dinner. All the other meals you can fit whenever. Christy does with this thing where she splits her breakfast in half. So she buys like 1 or 2 breakfasts from 212, and then she'll split that and have half of it for breakfast one day and half of it for breakfast another day. So, I mean, it's really up to you on how you fit them in, but they will work. I would order, if you order them ahead of time and you let us know what you ordered, then we can help you spread it out.
Will you order them for me?
We can order them
6
together,
weeks
yeah.
worth. I'll give you my credit card.
We'll order them on Monday, yeah. We'll order them on Monday, Steve.
So what about the little applesauce you told me to have before I come in the morning?
Yeah, I would use, that's gonna be your, like the same, like the carb from your snack, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that morning snack, you're just having that before your workout, so I would still have your protein and your veggie and your fat after your workout. If you guys go up to the fiber, or not the fiber, go up to the carb on that plate building page, you'll see it says on workout days and then on non-workout days. If you guys remember from last year's anti-inflammatory or from last year's meal plan, you do have the option to add some carbs on your workout day, like I said. So if you feel like you need it, which going from 3 to 5 days is a lot, so if you feel like you needed more food or more fuel, or you're tired at the end of the day and you weren't like that before, that means you do need that extra carb. So if you're coming in the 5 days, or it is a workout day, Monday through Friday, I would have those carbs with both those shakes and have that carb for lunch. Don't skip that. On your non-workout days, just have the one, and then if you want the other ones, you can. Okay? So extra carbs on workout days if you want, or no. Does that make sense? Okay. For your veggies, before we flip the page, you guys, most people are averaging around 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day. The fiber is a big part of making sure that your gut stays nice and normal, making sure that you pass all of the protein that you're eating, and it also helps you burn calories. You burn more calories when you eat food that your body has to actually physically break up. So your intestines doing all that work, like breaking up celery and stuff like that burns calories too, okay? So when you have your serving of veggies with all three of your big meals, that's gonna get you pretty close. And then the smaller snacks like the shakes, that should take you over, which is why I'm okay with some of those snack, like the green. I don't want that. That doesn't have to just mean veggies. It can also mean fruit, but it can't be all fruit, right? So if you're like, oh, I have my 3 veggies, and then you want to have like berries or something with your snack, you don't really want to have veggie with that. You know, just pay attention to how much you're having. You guys can see on your app where you're sitting with fiber. So if you pull your app up and you click on your food, if you logged for today, you click on your goal, and then you click details. You scroll down past your macros and you go into micro, you'll see like sugar and fiber and stuff like that, and that's where it'll tell you, oh, you have X amount of grams of fiber. So that's why it's good to log your veggies, because then that number will go up ideally.
What's the range you want us in?
For women, I want you between 15 and 25. For men, I want you between 25 and 35. But it's not something you can just go 0 to 100 with, okay? Or you're going to get blocked up. You have to work your way up. So I would recommend like five more grams a day this week, then another 5 grams the next week, and then work your way up to that range, because your body has to get used to it. Okay? With this meal plan, we are going to do apple cider vinegar. So if you guys will flip to past the fiber page to the sample diet workout day. So this is an example of how you use those first 2 pages to build your meals for a workout day. So on a workout day, your first meal using that pie chart is a protein, so the eggs is a veggie, and then cooking with that oil, right? That coconut oil, if I'm actually using that as my fat, it needs to be real oil, okay? You need to weigh it out, real oil. If you're using spray, that's not gonna give you enough calories to give you towards your fat, okay? It's perfect for all your other meals that you're not trying to add fat to, but if you want to go for fat, you're going to decide, are you going to add a separate fat like avocado or something and cook with spray, or are you going to have your fat be the oil that you're cooking with, okay? Your first meal, protein, veggies, and the fat. Your second meal, if you go down, you have the option, so your snack or your shake. Your snack, you have your, on a workout day, you have your protein, your carb, and your veggie, or you have a carb and your shake, okay? So you have the option, but no matter what, because it's a workout day, you have a carb with either one of those, okay? Your third meal is that lunch where you do have that protein, veggie, and carb, and your fourth meal, again, you have the option between doing that snack or doing that shake. And again, because you're working out, you have a carb with that too, okay? Your last meal, no carb. You guys, what's up?
What is the best time to have those meals during the day?
I would say during the day, it really doesn't matter. I think your getting everything in and your last meal being done 2 to 3 hours before bed is your goal. So if you want to, everyone's schedule during the day is a little bit different. So if you can have that first meal at a very consistent time, and then your middle meals, you're just you're planning, but you're eating when you can. And then that last meal, you're like, I'm done eating after this meal. Try not to snack after that last meal. Some people need to push that last meal so they don't snack because they don't go to bed till later. Some people need to put themselves to bed, right? So figure out which person you are, right? And watch your food reels while you're in bed and stuff, right?
I like to snack at night.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we'll try not to snack after that last meal, and that's part of why you want to, if you're somebody who doesn't get hungry till the afternoon, trying to eat breakfast and resetting that so that you are completely satiated by the time it's time for bed. And you probably will sleep better too, okay? So we're gonna add the apple cider vinegar to your 2 biggest meals, okay? This is 1 tablespoon. Do you have the apple cider vinegar? So you can get this from anywhere. AJ grabbed one for me from Walmart. You want to try to get the one that has the mother in it, so where you can literally see the little guy inside. Okay, that means it's live fermenting. It's the strongest, the cleanest, the healthiest. Okay, when you buy like kombucha and stuff like that, a lot of times the probiotics and prebiotics that they put in there they're already dead because it's been. It's not no kombucha, but that's not going to give you what you need, right? So 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Thank you. This guy. Okay. With the mother in it. He got the one that has honey in it, so it'll go down a little bit easier. But you're going to do 1 tablespoon with your 2 biggest meals. Okay. Don't do it on an empty stomach. Okay. And I would dilute it in 4 to 6 ounces of water, and then just drink it real quick. You're not supposed to drink it straight because it's bad for if you have acid reflux or it's bad for your teeth. So if you want to sip it really quick and you don't want to spend the 4 to 6 ounces, drink it because someone asked that, what if I don't want to struggle through drinking it? Then just sip it through a straw. Okay? So 1 tablespoon twice a day.
With the meal.
Mm-hmm, with the meal. Yep, with your meal. It's recommended that you do this with the meals that have carbs, but it really doesn't matter. It's like I would do just with your meals. Don't do it on an empty stomach. Okay? And that's one way you can take it up a notch. You don't have to do the apple cider vinegar. If it freaks you out, you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. But it is known to help you clear your gut out.
One of the questions asked if I would ask if that can take the pills.
Mm-hmm. The apple cider capsules are fine.
One
Yep.
of your friends, huh?
Yeah, I'm seriously asking for a friend.
I prefer obviously this first, but then the capsules and then the gummies, just because the gummies obviously have a couple of grams of sugar in there and stuff. Patty, you don't have to worry about that. But you want to try to pick the whole one, but the one that you're going to be consistent with. So if you think you'll consistently do the capsule, by all means.
Is this just for the first 2 weeks or the whole challenge?
It's the first 2 weeks, and then if you want to keep going, keep going. Okay. The next page, that sample diet on active recovery day, that's your rest day, but we know it's not a full rest day, right? Because we're still getting our 10,000 steps in. So active recovery day. This is the day that you're not going to have a carb with one of those middle meals. Okay? So you can choose if you're going to take it away from your morning snack or you're going to take it away from your afternoon snack. I recommend keeping the carb that's closest to your workout. So if you work out in the morning, I would keep the morning snack carb. If you work out at night, I would keep the night snack carb. Does that make sense? Okay. There's some notes on there. Okay, so that's all the way through this. You guys have a couple of other resources. So if you guys want to pull your iBuffet app up and click on the knife and fork, you're going to see, it's going to look the same, but it'll have a title page. And there's a couple extra things in there I want to go over real quick. So you'll see a knife and fork on your app. You'll click on that. And then it should be like a PDF.
Thanks for being.
Okay, so if you guys scroll down to page 4. Page 4 says known inflammatory foods to limit. So if following the meal plan is like, whoa, bro, like, I don't know. This is another way to look at it where the main point of this plan is we're trying to limit or avoid these foods for a couple weeks. I don't like the idea of saying like you can't have this or don't have this. Like that's not a good mindset to have, but I did want to give you another way to think about this, okay? So the meal plan is meant to limit refined carbohydrates and sugar. So your white bread, your pastries, cereal, baked goods, oatmeal cream pies, stuff like that, right? Why? I just love those, that's why I said that. Why do we want to avoid those? Because they rapidly increase your blood sugar. So you get a really big spike, and that, if you don't have any protein with that, you have it by itself, you're going to have a drop, and then you're going to need something else. That's when everybody's like, I'm craving carbs, right? It's because you probably had or like quick carbs earlier, and now you're dropped, and now you need a little bit more. Your blood sugar's low. To avoid that up and down, you want to try to have it with a protein or with some fiber or something like that, right? If you just cut out the refined carbs and sugars, like that's not only going to help you with your blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, but it's also going to help you with inflammation. So you should see and feel a difference right here by cutting out the refined sugar in the 2 weeks. Okay, and I know this is the area for a lot of people that you're really looking for changes, and I would highly recommend cutting the refined sugar and see if that makes a difference. Okay. Some swaps you can make: whole grain versus white bread, the basmati or brown rice over white rice, doing like berries or cherries or dark chocolate over candy or cookies, that kind of stuff, okay? Processed food, so bacon, sausage, hot dogs. Lunch meat is one of those things where the source is really important, and then also how much you rely on it. So I do eat deli meat like chicken breast. That's what I keep in my fridge if I'm on like a cut or something, or like I'm in prep and I open the fridge, like that's what I'm going for because it's honey roasted, it's a little bit of sweet, but it's pretty much all protein. So I'll keep lunch meat in there and I'll go for that for my snack. You just don't want that to be the main source of your protein, okay? Because there's nitrates and other things in there, preservatives. It's also linked to gut inflammation and then aggravating PCOS symptoms. So just cutting back on the red meat. Your excess saturated fat and trans fat, so that's fried food. Butter is included in that, but butter has a lot of health benefits too. So after the 2 weeks, we'll let whole food butter, like Kerrygold kind of butter come in. But the margarine and like the fake butter and stuff, that's not. We want to kind of cut that out. Okay. Try to go for your lean proteins over your higher fat proteins. We talked about avocado over cheese, that kind of thing. And then extra virgin olive oil over like vegetable oil. Making your own version of like the stuff like this versus buying the stuff like this. Because a lot of times you'll get bigger pieces and there's not all the extra stuff. What's that?
What's the general rule on cheese?
On cheese?
Yeah, like if you're a big cheese lover.
So for the anti-inflammatory, I would say no cheese.
Okay.
For in general, cheese is a known inflammatory, so that's why they do recommend you go for a hard cheese, like a block of like a really sharp cheddar or something like that, or Parmesan. Hard, like grated Parmesan has a lot of protein and not as much fat, and then like a low-fat cheese stick. I would try not to like put cheese on top of stuff. That's like kind of a habit that like I've cut back on. I love cheese too, but as soon as I pulled back on that, it wasn't hard to hit my numbers anymore,
But
you
the
know?
Parmesan is not for the first 2 weeks either.
Right. What's up?
And what are we doing for caffeine? Is that?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna limit caffeine, just because it gave everybody a heart attack last time. And I wouldn't do it myself, to be honest. And I'm not gonna ask you guys to do something I'm not gonna do. And it's if you're doing all the other things and you're gonna keep that, you know, is that gonna make or break you, right? Okay, I know we're out of time. I have I'm trying to make sure I covered everything in here.
What does Ezekiel bread come in? Can we do that during the anti?
You can do Ezekiel bread, yeah.
What will it fall under?
Carb.
During the first 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So we can have bread after the 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
After the 2 weeks?
You can have Ezekiel bread during the first 2 weeks, like the low carb bread, yes. You cannot have, or and then you can have regular whole wheat, whole grain sourdough after the 2 weeks. And you guys will get another like version of this for the last 4 weeks.
Today's bread, today's thin sliced bread. Today's.
Yeah, not for the first 2 weeks. But again, like Patty, you know, you probably could. But I was like, no, that's not helping me. Yeah, there is a page in here on all the reasons why I'm asking you to do the apple cider vinegar. That could convince you if you're on the fence. On that same page, there's digestive elixirs, so ways that you can make like a mocktail out of the apple cider vinegar so it's easier to drink. Almost like making it a bedtime routine, something that you drink before bed or something that you drink when you wake up. Okay? So make sure you check those recipes out. You guys have to be on school for you guys to have access to all of the resources. So make sure that you're in the school group. You guys will see red carpet challenge category. You're gonna click on that category, and that's where all of your recipe books and everything for the challenge are gonna be. What
I
else?
have a question. With the apple cider vinegar, it says at least, your 2 largest meals. Can you do more, or you can do?
It's a tolerance thing.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can do all 3 if you.
You could, yep.
Okay.
You could. Now, a lot of times people with the apple cider vinegar, it's like bigger like portions at one time, and I've just found the tablespoon is easier to down with everything. Okay, cool. I want to take, does anybody have any other questions? I want to take a group picture before everybody leaves, and then if anybody wants to practice like using the food scale, or has any questions with you using, weighing pasta or rice or anything like that, just come up here and we can touch on that, okay? You guys feel good? We're ready for the challenge? 10,000 steps a day, right? Okay, let's take our picture.